The wind howled through the frozen valley, carrying whispers of a story no one had yet heard. A lone figure stood motionless in the snow, its ribs pressing against its thin coat, its breath shallow, its eyes empty. A wild Mustang, abandoned and broken, left to vanish into the silence of winter. No one knew how long he had been there. No one believed he could survive. But then something happened, something no one could explain. Because when the rescuers arrived, expecting a terrified, untamable creature, they found something else. The Mustang didn't run. He didn't fight. He just stood there, waiting, as if he knew, as if he had been waiting for them all along. What happened next left even the most experienced rescuers speechless. Because this wasn't just another rescue. This was something else. Something no one could have predicted. It was a local rancher who first spotted him. At first he thought his eyes were deceiving him. A shadow against the white snow, something unmoving in the distance. But as he drew closer, his heart clenched. The Mustang was barely standing. His legs trembled under the weight of his own body. His head hung low, his breath escaping in weak, foggy puffs. This horse wasn't just lost, he was dying. The rancher knew there was no time to waste. He called a nearby horse rescue team, describing what he had seen. There was silence on the other end of the line before the team lead finally responded. "If he's as bad as you say, he might not make it." But still, they came. Within an hour, a truck rumbled over the frozen ground, rescue workers spilling out, their boots crunching in the snow. They were expecting a struggle. A wild Mustang, starving, cold, desperate, would never willingly accept help. But this one did. When they approached, he didn't bolt. He didn't even flinch. He just watched. A deep, haunting stillness clung to him. It was the kind of stillness that sent chills down your spine, the kind that didn't belong to a living creature. One rescuer whispered, "It's like he's already given up." And maybe he had. The team moved slowly, speaking in low, reassuring voices. There was no need for force, no ropes, no sudden movements. Instead, they gently encouraged him toward a temporary corral. The Mustang hesitated, his breath shaky, his body swaying, and then defying everything they knew about wild horses. He stepped forward, one step, then another, until finally he was inside. The rescuers exchanged glances, unspoken questions passing between them. Why hadn't he fought? Why hadn't he tried to escape? But there was no time to wonder. The Mustang's condition was worsening by the second. They had to move. They carefully loaded him into the trailer, securing him as best they could without causing stress. But even as the truck rumbled down the road, heading toward the rescue facility, the unease in the air remained. Something about this wasn't normal. Something about this felt different. When they arrived at the rescue center, the veterinarians were already waiting. As soon as the trailer doors opened, the lead vet's face turned grim. His body temperature was dangerously low. His muscles had deteriorated from starvation. His hooves were cracked and bleeding from walking endless miles across frozen ground. "He's on the edge," one of them murmured. "If he makes it through the night, it'll be a miracle." The rescuers refused to give up. They placed him in a warm stall, covering him with blankets. A heat lamp glowed softly above him, offering some relief from the biting cold. Small amounts of food and water were offered, but he barely responded. They took turns sitting with him through the night, whispering soft words, hoping he would fight, hoping he still had something left inside him. And then, just before dawn, it happened. The Mustang lifted his head. Slowly, cautiously, he stretched his neck forward, just enough to take his first real bite of food. It was small, barely a mouthful, but it was enough. Enough to prove he wanted to live. That single bite marked the turning point. Each day he grew a little stronger. His dull, lifeless eyes regained their depth. His muscles filled out, his steps became steadier. Days turned into weeks. And then one morning, the rescuers watched in awe as he did something they had only dared to hope for. He ran. Not out of fear, not out of desperation, but with the pure joy of being alive. The wild horse no one thought could be saved had defied the odds. He had been left behind, abandoned in the cold. But because someone chose to believe in him, because a team refused to give up, he had been given a second chance. Some called it luck. Some called it a miracle. But those who were there knew the truth. This Mustang had never been waiting for death. He had been waiting to be found.